Number 5. SCP-3199, the Refuted. Our first entry to be cleared for discussion is SCP-3199, a Keter-class object, sometimes referred to colloquially as the Refuted, but we prefer not to use sensationalized words like that internally. This photo you're looking at was a photo taken by a researcher when SCP-3199 was being brought in on its first recovery. SCP-3199 refers to the documentation of an entire species of sapient biological entities of currently indeterminable origin, but we're working on it. We found several tissue samples and have found presence of chicken, chimpanzee, stoat, mussel, adders, and trace amounts of human DNA, muddying the waters of just what exactly our friends here are. Now fascinatingly, these creatures produce eggs to fill unoccupied space within their bodies. They reproduce asexually, and from our studies it's been shown that there does not appear to be a limit to the number of eggs inside a single instance of SCP-3199. It's fascinating. The current theory is that on a long enough timeline, a single instance of SCP-3199 could potentially perform an LK-class species transmutation scenario, which I don't think I need to tell you we'd all prefer to avoid. All instances of SCP-3199 carry one egg within a specialized stomach-like organ, assuring that even after death, a living instance will carry on. Interestingly, this egg-laying process appears to cause SCP-3199 extreme distress, with some researchers noting that the sounds produced by the entity are not dissimilar to screaming, to quote the lab report. SCP-3199 is carefully monitored, as the creatures have been shown to be very opportunistic hunters, reacting violently defensive towards live subjects that approach their hatchlings. When an SCP-3199 feels that its young has been threatened, it will attack at a subject in a way I am not entirely authorized to discuss, but the process is quick and it liquefies the internal organs and bone structure of the victim, rendering them dead almost immediately. We have not observed any instances of SCP-3199 consuming prey in this matter. All instances are kept in containers of acid-resistant steel, and in extreme cases, stored in a block of transparent acrylic resin. And if you're curious about more information on bizarre entities from the SCP Foundation or otherwise, please consider a subscription to Top 5 Scary. It's best to stay informed. Number 4. SCP-2774, the Sloth. Don't panic when I tell you some of this. I promise you all of the images that are being shown to you have been carefully vetted and went through all proper channels before being displayed in this video. No one here is looking for a repeat of the SCP-096 incident. SCP-2774 is a Keter-class object and refers to any visual medium that contains the subsection SCP-2774-A. This subsection is an image of an unknown, possibly humanoid entity in what appears to be wearing a realistic sloth costume. Now, effects of viewing an image of SCP-2774-A don't occur immediately, but rather gestates on an incubation period of anywhere from 40 to 100 hours after that initial exposure. Those afflicted will slowly begin to lose their cognitive function and higher level decision making, and this usually occurs for short bursts, around 2 to 3 minutes, seemingly at random intervals every 24 hours. Please don't worry, all the images in this video have been heavily edited by the Foundation before being sent over. No threat is present. SCP-2774-A manifests itself in various forms of pre-recorded media. There was a notable incident in Fredericton, New Brunswick, where SCP-2774-A appeared for a few frames on a local television broadcast, which resulted in a mass hysteria case where over 4,000 people had to be tended to and relocated by the Foundation. We currently believe that SCP-277-4A possesses some level of enhanced ability the more people that are currently affected by it at once. It manifests more vividly the more people are affected, so to speak. Those infected by this cognitive loss have been observed to become incredibly fearful and irrational, very agitated. They report no memory loss, but they have no ability to comprehend their affections or understand what is happening. Some subjects in interviews have even reported that they felt completely powerless except to obey their basest thoughts, describing their body performing actions autonomously. We've observed in some cases that subjects who become afflicted by SCP-2744-A develop an obsession. In some longer observations, we've seen effigies, artistic renderings, and even writings being made by the subject, in some of the recovered subjects from the Fredericton incident. You're probably curious how the Foundation works to contain a non-physical object like SCP-2774. Well, I can't disclose everything. We do have automated programs scanning most broadcasts for patterns of it, which are swiftly detected and destroyed. These programs are of course overseen by manual observation. We can't trust everything to artificial artificial intelligence. Any instance in which we have reason to believe a person has been inflicted by SCP-2774 in a way that will cause them serious harm are temporarily relocated to Subject Site 116, where they are given top-of-the-line care from our medical staff round the clock. Number 3. SCP-1471, the app. Another SCP for the digital age is SCP-1471. It's a Euclid class object, and it refers to an app installed on smartphones, measuring just a little under 10 megabytes of data. It is referred to as Mal-O version 10.1 on digital marketplaces. This app doesn't appear to have any developer or user data attached to it. Now, it goes without saying, but please, after this video, do not attempt to look up or acquire this application. We work tirelessly to keep it from manifesting more. It's proven difficult to remove once it makes its way onto the storage of a mobile phone, oftentimes reinstalling itself or even outright preventing itself from being removed from the phone. After the application has been installed, no icons or shortcuts or even any data appears to be altered. The only noticeable change is that you will begin to receive text messages every 3 to 6 hours, and these messages enclosed will contain images of an entity with a canid-like skull and long flowing black hair. Again, these images that you're seeing, while they are real images of SCP-1471, they have been carefully edited to remove any lasting psychotropic energy. No need to look away. During the first 24 hours after installation, users will receive images taken from places frequented by the afflicted subject. As time progresses on a week-long trajectory, we'll start to see the afflicted user receiving images taken from locations that they have very recently visited, places like a grocery store, a pharmacy, or an office, and so on. On a 72-hour timeline, we begin to see the individual receiving images that have been taken in real time of the subject, with the entity hereto referred to as SCP-1741-A appearing directly behind the subject or in extremely close proximity. These individuals report that the canid skull entity is attempting to make communications with them, although they are unable to. To date, we have not observed any instances of hostile activity from SCP-147-A, and its desires are currently unknown to us. Number 2. SCP-323, the Wendigo. And this one is always a bit popular when we do these PR excursions, so I'm happy to talk about it. This is SCP-323, a Euclid class object. It manifests as the skull of an unidentified curvid with a pair of massive antlers growing from the left and right sides of the skull. And the skull shows normal outside exposure damage. It's got a bit of scarring, weathering, and bleaching, and a broken lower mandible. Now, interestingly, the back of the skull has a centered depression, and this gap shows signs of tool wear and use, suggesting that the gap was carved with tools, likely stone. And there is a small chance the skull as a whole was carved, but low. SCP-323 appears to have some sort of radius of mental control. We've recorded a very powerful influential effect spreading roughly 15 meters outside of the object. Individuals affected by this radius, which some researchers have unofficially dubbed the terror radius, find themselves overwhelmed with extreme urges, predominantly violent. More often than not, these subjects report feeling extreme desires to consume human flesh. Roughly 3/4 of all individuals that have been afflicted by the terror radius will attempt to place their heads through the gap in SCP-323, keeping their mouth uncovered while they do this. Should a subject find themselves unable to put the skull over their own head, well, we've seen in extreme cases in which the subject will attempt to physically alter the shape of their head, bludgeoning on nearby objects or until the subject expires. Once the subject is able to mask themselves with the skull, we consider them a new entity, hereto referred to as SCP-323-A. And this new entity is shown to have extreme pain resistance and increased strength, but very interestingly does not appear more durable than a standard human subject. This creature then demands food and feels pangs of starvation 15 minutes after transformation. It only seems to consume human flesh, and we have observed it to outright refuse any other sources of meat. It even appears to speak in short statements in Cree, Tawatomi, and Severn Ojibwe languages. Number 1. SCP-106. SCP-106 is a Keter class object and is one of our more famous, frequently asked about objects. It is sometimes referred to unofficially as the Old Man due to its appearance resembling an elderly human male, albeit one that is severely decomposed. SCP-106 causes a profoundly strong corrosion effect in all solid matter that it makes contact with, causing whatever it touched to break down in a matter of seconds. We've observed this occurring on a wide variety of substances, ranging from things like concrete, steel, plaster, to flesh and tissue. You can see it rusting, rotting, and cracking, and a creation of a viscous black-like substance wherever it's been. This substance is highly toxic and is very, very effective at breaking down living tissue. Through this corrosive effect, SCP-106 has been observed being able to pass through solid matter entirely, leaving behind large swaths and trails of the mucus as it vanishes into the surface. While it's doing this, it appears to enter a pocket dimension. It's then able to exit this dimension from any any point connected to the original entrance. For example, as a thought experiment, if it connected a point to a wall, it could then exit through the ceiling. As of this recording, we are still trying to ascertain if the dimension is the point of origin for 106, or merely something it accesses. Through limited research and observation, we've discovered that the pocket dimension appears to be comprised of mostly seemingly uninteresting hallways and rooms manifesting as a nondescript office building, following no clear sensible layout. We've seen some cases where victims are pulled into this dimension and kept captive for days on time, but for what purpose though, currently unknown.
Number 5 on this list is the security cam. A man recently bought a security camera to watch his home, and when he was reviewing the tape, found a very interesting sound. It doesn't sound like anything natural or something that would appear in his home. He's had a few different people listen to the sound, and they all seem to hear something different. What do you guys hear? So there is definitely something there, but I'm gonna be honest guys, I can't really tell what it is that it says. I checked the comments of the video where he posted it, and a lot of people think that it said innocent. I hear that, but it also doesn't quite fit, you know what I mean? Let me know in the comments what you guys hear, and if you think this is even English. It's possible that this could be a completely different language and we're just fooling ourselves entirely. Number 4 on this list is tea. So, I'm gonna be honest guys, this one isn't nearly as scary as some of the other ones on this list, but even still, I'm gonna include it because it truly is very strange. So the account that posted this is all about cats and animals. They're gonna be showing us how much food to dish out when something very strange happens.
A tablespoon? Yeah, this is half of a tablespoon. Tablespoon? Tablespoon?
So for some reason, this EVP really wants some tea. Maybe this is the ghost of some Victorian era person who just really misses having their afternoon tea and wants to make it known that they want some. It's definitely clear that a noise is there, like that can't possibly be debated, but what the heck made that noise and why are they saying tea? Very strange to say the least there. Number 3 on this list is the ancient Egyptian. Many years ago, back in 2013, a YouTube account called Massage ASMR posted a video entitled Ghost EVP Captured in Egypt on Camera. This video is pretty unlike the usual content this guy posts, but apparently it was actually sent in by his friends and was simply too good for him not to put on the internet and see if anyone had any answers. Apparently the footage was taken at the temple of Hatshepsut, Luxor, Egypt in October 2012. There was also no editing to this footage at all. It was taken directly from the SD card. Let's roll the clip now and see if you guys can hear the EVP.
All the guys over there, I know.
So it was very quick, but it was definitely there. A sound that came totally out of left field and doesn't make any sense for the surroundings. I mean, we hear a bunch of different tourists and a tour guide, and then very distinctly the sound of a ghost for roughly 1.5 seconds, and well, then it's gone. Now, it's believed that this ghost, or, well, whatever spirit was trying to communicate, was speaking ancient Egyptian. I don't know how these people managed to figure that out, but I guess considering we're in an ancient Egyptian temple, that would obviously make a lot of sense. Comment down below, what do you think about this EVP and what could it mean? Was this a warning, or maybe it was welcoming them? Pretty tough to say. Number 2 on this list is the Whisper. This next entry was captured by a couple who was vlogging on their vacation. This footage was captured at Teotihuacan. If you don't know what that is, then Google says Teotihuacan is a vast Mexican archaeological complex northeast of Mexico City. Running down the middle of the site, which was once a flourishing pre-Columbian city, is the Avenue of the Dead. It links the Temple of Quetzalcoatl, the Pyramid of the Moon, and the Pyramid of the Sun, the latter two with panoramic views from their summits. Artifacts in the Museum of Teotihuacan culture on site include pottery and bones. Basically, this place is a very ancient site that has been linked to a lot of important rituals. The perfect place for an EVP to happen. Let's roll the clip and see what you guys think.
Comes from Brazil, over 3,000 miles away, and it's an energy conductor, but it
So she seems to think that it's whispering to them in Spanish or some other ancient language. I personally heard a lot more breathing than any whispering, but that's just me. Maybe this couple happened to be filming right at the perfect time and some ancient spirit was just passing on by. Or maybe she's right and it was actually trying to speak to them. It's too bad that these EVPs usually speak in languages that we don't understand, because it would be pretty nice to know what they're actually saying. And finally, number 1 on this list is Dracula's Castle. Corvin Castle in Transylvania is known to most people as Dracula's Castle. If Dracula was to be real, then this would definitely be the place that he'd live. Tourists travel far and wide to visit this place and see for themselves. Many people believe that the place itself is haunted, and some camera footage where they caught an EVP might prove just that. Let's roll the clip so you guys can see what I mean. I assume that footage is dark because they left the camera there for a long time and this probably would have been at nighttime. It's really fast, but that definitely didn't sound like the wind to me. That was very clearly something. Now I don't know exactly what that something was, but I would wager a bet that some type of spirit played a role in producing it. Was that spirit Dracula? Maybe. Could that have been the spirit of somebody who died here? Well, that's also possible. We may never know for sure, but I think it's pretty clear that this castle is how the locals describe it. Very haunted. Number 5 on this list is the Dead Mother. There are so many things that we could have called this painting, but the artist decided to go with Dead Mother. Already off to a bad start if you ask me. The Paranormal periodical says it's a pretty depressing picture. We see a young child standing next to her dead mother who lies on her deathbed. This traumatic piece of art is based on an even sadder story. Edvard Munch, the Norwegian artist behind the image, experienced the same circumstances shown in the painting at 5 years old when his mother died of TB. His works were always overshadowed by his childhood bereavement and morbid fear of inheriting a mental condition from his family, but it was this one that picked up an alleged curse. Those who view this image have reported feeling uncomfortable, as if the eyes of the young girl are following you, and heard the bed sheets even rustling in the painting. Munch isn't just known for this haunted painting, however. He's also the brains behind The Scream, one of the most famous pieces of artwork, which is haunting on a different level. This eyeball movement has been seen from tons of people before, and apparently has been caught on camera. Now, we don't have access to that footage, but from my understanding, it's not some optical illusion. Like the Mona Lisa is often talked about as doing this, and it's a bit of an optical illusion. But this painting very clearly has moved and its eyeballs are in a different place. Also, even if this was an optical illusion, there's no way to create the auditory effect of rustling sheets without someone actually moving. This painting is messed up and some paranormal expert needs to look into it fast. Number 4 on this list is Bernardo De Galvez. We have another painting here whose eyes follow you, but there's also a bit of a twist involved. The Paranormal periodical says this painting is housed in one of Texas's most haunted hotels, despite having its own terrifying reputation. The thing is, the supernatural goings-on in this hotel can be traced back to the day the painting was first hung at the end of the downstairs hallway. This is a portrait of the Spanish military officer the hotel was named after, Bernardo De Galvez. The guests immediately began to feel the eyes follow them as they walked across the hall and to their rooms. They also felt cold spots or a sense of uneasiness if they stood too close to it. The most chilling part of this story, however, is that no one is able to take a picture of the painting without it being blurred. To ask for a clear image, you must first ask for permission from Bernardo. So from my understanding, this has been caught on camera, but there's no way to know if what people are suggesting is real or not because the image is blurred and we can't see anything, making it rather difficult to know anything at all in relation to this painting. What is it about this painting? Why is it the way that it is? Apparently, just having this moving haunted painting in the hotel has made it so that this hotel is super duper haunted now. But how is that possible? What could have possibly caused this painting to get this far gone where it blurs cameras and follows people around? We may never know why this painting is as scary as it is. Number 3 on this list is the stagecraft of the Hanging Man. This one is super super weird and will make you want to double check all your photographs. The Paranormal Periodical says a painter was at a gallery in 1994 where she discovered a unique photograph taken by James Kidd. It was meant to simply be a picture of an old stagecoach in a stagecoach stop in Arizona, but when he developed the photo, he discovered what seemed to be a headless man. Yeah, this was a ghost. Even Kodak investigated it and claimed the photo had not been doctored. The painter was drawn to it and asked if she could do an oil painting of the image. However, halfway through the painting, she began to feel, well, odd. It was at this point that the painting started doing some weird things. Objects in it would randomly move, and things even in the office space where the painting was being made started acting up. The roof started leaking when it really shouldn't have at all. Things started moving around the room without warning. Just weird stuff, and all while the painting itself was moving around. One day the headless man would be in one spot, and the next time he would be in another one entirely. Apparently this is caught on the security footage from this building, but that's not something that we can easily access. I don't really understand why they kept painting this damn thing after it started doing what it was doing, because now we just have this headless dude from a painting terrorizing people in this office, as if the monotony of a 9 to 5 wasn't bad enough. Number 2 on this list is love letters. Now, there are actually a few love letters paintings, and they're both haunted, believe it or not. We're going to be specifically focusing in on the latter painting though, one that's been called Love Letters Replica. The Paranormal Periodical says most haunted or cursed paintings have one thing in common: they're freaky. This replica of a Richard King work, on the other hand, would probably be credited as pretty. Unfortunately, this piece of art lays claim to a rather more tragic tale. The origins of this painting is unknown, and unlike other pictures, it adopted its paranormal connotations after it was painted. Legend has it the daughter of a US Senator, Samantha Houston, chased her ball down the grand stairs of the Driscoll Hotel and died in 1887. The picture was supposedly hung up in her memory as it mirrored her features and her kind demeanor. But it wasn't soon after it made its debut in the hotel that guests and staff began to report feeling dizzy or nauseous around the painting. But some also said the painting had tried to communicate with them. The girl's face might change expression, or she might be holding a ball instead of a bouquet of flowers. Those who have owned other replicas or prints of the painting also reported loved ones having strokes, a common link between those who had had the misfortune of bringing it into their homes. Yeah, so people literally have had this painting try to communicate with them before. That's really not what a painting should be doing, folks. I like my paintings completely still, without movement, and without the ability to mess with my freaking brain. Clearly something about paint put into this pattern to create this image just makes something haunted and creepy happen. Considering this is the replica of the original and the original is also haunted, maybe we should just stop painting pictures that look like this. And number 1 on this list is the Rain Woman. Not only does this painting move, but the woman in the painting will follow you anywhere you go. The Paranormal Periodical says it's one of the most peculiar and poignant paintings to feature, but the paranormal activity actually started when the painter first set up the canvas. Svetlana Telets, the artist behind the picture, claimed she painted it in less than 5 hours. Or did she? The Ukrainian painter alleges her hand was guided throughout the entire process and that she felt she was channeling a spirit that was looking over her. It's currently hung in a salon in Kiev and is often noted as exhibiting telltale signs of terrifying supernatural phenomena. The expression changes and angry emotions can often be seen glinting in her eyes. Those that made the mistake of buying it, a clear mistake as it frequently changed hands, often claimed that they began to see the woman in the paintings everywhere. It gave people that looked at it or were in the same room as it headaches, and a shadow began to wander the homes of those who owned it. According to paranormal experts, Telets might have been channeling surrealist automatism from which one lets the unconscious mind have control over their art. This is effectively spirit writing with a paintbrush and seems to have trapped an entity in the image. So it's no wonder this thing moves, guys. It's literally alive. There's a spirit trapped inside this painting and it's doing whatever the heck it wants. I don't know how this happened or what spirit this is, but clearly it doesn't want to go to the afterlife just yet and had to use this painting as its vessel.
Coming in at number 5, we have Dementor. Back in 2017, above the Mukuba Mall in the city of Kitwe, Zambia, locals spotted something rather unusual in the sky. Ocean, which is absolutely terrifying. Estimates of its size are reportedly around 10 meters in length. There are reportedly only 115 sightings in the last 110 years of this type of jellyfish, but it is believed to be widespread throughout the world. The jellyfish itself has an umbrella-shaped bell that can be up to 1 meter wide. It also has 4 paddle-like arms up to 10 meters long, aka 20 feet long, which, as they lack stinging tentacles, may be used to trap prey. But I'm terrified right now. So no matter what, you're gonna get dead. Back in 2010, for the first time in history, this type of jellyfish was caught on camera, and yes, it is just as terrifying as you can imagine. The creature appears to be holding onto the subsea structure in the video, for reasons unknown. However, one scientist believed this could be because the jellyfish is attempting to eat the structure, before realizing it cannot. This in turn could be a reflex, much like a fly trap in a way. It's worth to watch the entire video, especially if you don't want to sleep tonight. This thing makes me feel so uncomfortable. Also, I hate the ocean, so it could just be that. I hate every single thing in the ocean. Don't come for me.
Interesting video. It occurred in 2009, and in it, the animal appears to be holding on to some of the subsea structure. This is the first time this species has been found in the Gulf of Mexico, and these observations provided an opportunity to learn something about its habitat, behavior, and ecology.
Coming in at number 3, Loch Ness Monster. Rumours about the Loch Ness Monster have been in circulation for years, with it being brought to worldwide attention back in 1933. The creature is a cryptid that is said to inhabit Loch Ness in the Scottish Highlands. It is often described as large, long-necked, and with 1 or more humps protruding from the water. Of course, most believe this to be a hoax, with the scientific community regarding it as a phenomenon without biological basis. The Courier in 2017 published excerpts from an article which discussed the Loch Ness Monster, stating, "The creature disported itself, rolling and plunging for fully a minute, its body resembling that of a whale, and the water cascading and churning like a simmering cauldron. Soon, however, it disappeared in a boiling mass. Both onlookers confessed that there was something uncanny about the whole thing, for they realised that here was no ordinary denizen of their depths, because apart from its enormous size, the beast, in taking the final plunge, sent out waves that were big enough to have been caused by a passing steamer." Back in 2007, one particular video surfaced that seemed to show just that. A man was filming the Loch Ness when suddenly a creature jumps out of the water that looks more like a giraffe than anything, and then dives back in. The creature is massive and terrifying to look at. What do you think it is though? Nessie or giraffe? It can only be one or the other, and that's fact.
That's a handwriting. Oh my god! Did you see that?
Coming in at number 2, sewer creature. Back in 2009, a video was uploaded to YouTube which seems to show a pulsating mass deep in the sewers. It looks like some sort of blob creature that if you get too close it will consume you whole, only for you to join the pulsating mass. However, worse still, the mass was investigated and truth was made known to the public, and honestly, I preferred not knowing. According to reports, it is nothing more than a colony of tuberfex worms, so say the city officials in Raleigh, North Carolina. Suspect that the video may be doctored, while others say that someone could have created an elf-like puppet. I'm going with Dobby though, till the day I die. In at number 5, or Bigfoot itself. Coming in at number 5, Possessed Barbie. When we think of Barbies, we think of some of our first toys, the ones we would spend hours with in our rooms creating stories and making them make out. Come on, we all did it, wasn't just me. Anyway, for the most part, Barbies are designed the same, designed to be beautiful with unrealistic body shapes. However, they are not made to look like Chucky. There is quite literally nothing scary about a Barbie unless you had a younger sibling who cut all the hair off, which often happened, and if you did have that, I'm really sorry. That was until this video surfaced, which showed a young girl playing with 2 Barbie dolls on her bed. She seems to be having the best time. That is until a male voice calls out to her, and when she responds, one of the dolls in her hands very quickly turns its head to look at her. The girl is clearly petrified and throws the dolls before falling backwards. I mean, just take a look. The entire thing is distressing.
Vai comer sua língua.
Sara, vem comer!
Tá bom!
Coming in at number 4, Haunted Birthday Doll. In this creepy video, a teenager can be seen holding a large doll. However, the cute clip soon turns nightmarish when the doll's head spins towards the girl's face, almost looking directly at her. Now, I should preface by saying that the doll appears to be a quinceañera doll, which is often gifted to girls on their 15th birthday, and are dressed to look similar to the birthday girl. It is to mark the last doll the girl will ever receive before officially becoming a woman. Anyway, this poor girl clearly received some kind of hellish nightmare, because her birthday doll came to life. Prior to it moving, the girl who was speaking Spanish says something along the lines of the doll being ugly, which is just downright cruel and upsetting, resulting in the doll turning its head and staring at the girl like, what the f did you just say? The girl is obviously freaked out and throws the doll down in pure terror. Worse still, unlike a lot of videos about toys coming to life, there is no humor in this one. No laughing, no grin, no smirk, just pure horror and fear in the eyes of the young girl.
Bueno, aquí les presentamos a la muñeca de Bessie que se la regalaron a sus 15 años.
No manches, mira.
Coming in at number 3, Evil Possessed Doll. First and foremost, the doll in this video is bad news from the start, and it honestly doesn't surprise me that it might be possessed, because just looking at it sends shivers down my spine. It actually kind of looks like me, to be honest. The doll has a face as white as mine, which is quite the accomplishment, and long dark black hair with matching outfit. It is placed in the corner of the room just next to the little girl, sitting and staring off into the distance with some kind of red object, which I think is a candle, placed in front of her. Anyway, it seems the doll might have some jealousy issues, don't we all? Because in the video, the mother who is filming asks her daughter about her new toy, which the girl refers to as Lovable. Now, this was a huge mistake, because as soon as she does that, the creepy doll in the background begins to raise its arm, and as soon as it does this, the candle thing placed in front of it begins to roll away. This is absolutely terrifying because the girl seems utterly unaware of what is unfolding behind her, and worse still, no one is even close to touching the doll, meaning it is moving of its own accord. Like I said before, I think the creepy doll has some jealousy issues and isn't too happy that her owner has a new doll friend. Honestly, I would have burned the doll as soon as I saw this video. But to be fair, I wouldn't have bought that doll. It's creepy as fuck.
What's his name?
Lovable.
Lovable? Sure his name isn't like Fred or Henry?
Coming in at number 2, we have Haunted Doll Moves. I think it's safe to say that there really isn't anything much creepier than a spooky looking old doll, am I right? Especially a lot of them. I've never trusted anyone who collects dolls. I've actually never trusted anyone who collects anything, and I'm sorry if that's you. However, one woman had a ton of old and terrifying looking dolls stored in one room of her home. On one particular day, she decided to film those dolls for a video, and she certainly got more than she bargained for. To begin, the camera pans, and we're forced to stare at each individual doll, which is spooky enough. However, one doll does something that honestly makes me never want to leave my house again. At around the 48-second mark, one of the dolls definitely moves. It's quick, but it's there. When we reach one of the baby-looking dolls, its arm quickly goes from a raised position to moving down to its side. You even hear the noise to go along with it. It happens so quickly that you almost think it could be a trick of the light or that your mind made it up. But it happens. Just take a look. Trust me. And finally, coming in at number 1, we have Haunted Puppet. One creepy puppet who was said to have choked its former owner was filmed back in 2015 moving inside a sealed glass container in the dead of night. Yep, that's right, the puppet was caught freely moving on its own accord. Paranormal investigator Jane Harris recorded the puppet every night for almost 3 months, after its previous owner claimed it tried to choke him to death. However, what she discovered after reviewing the footage was absolutely terrifying. Night vision footage shows the puppets operating across, slowly moving upright before crashing into the sealed box glass panes. Jane went on to state, I quote, "I've never had anything as exciting as this. I've caught pictures of mists, orbs, and shadows, but nothing as physical as this video evidence. Normally you expect to see an orb or a shadow, but as soon as I saw a bit of movement and a glint from the metal hooks, it made me jump and I knew we'd recorded something important." She went on to state that, "We've always kept the puppet in a sealed, blessed cabinet, as it's a safe zone. It also means we can keep our experiments as controlled as possible. The cabinet has no doors, so you would have to physically lift all 4 sides and the base off to move it. There are not any holes or space for anything to sneak in there." The footage has convinced her that there could be in fact a spirit associated with the puppet. The puppet's former owner, John, inherited the puppet in the 60s following the death of his father, and he claims to have experienced minor haunting experiences which built up to one evening where he believes the spirit attached to the puppet was choking him. I quote, "I cleared out all of my dad's belongings apart from the puppet, which I left on the drawer by my bed for some reason, and that night it felt like I was being choked. I was wide awake in bed and I thought I saw a shadow move from one side of the window to the other, and was worried something was trying to scare us. Then, without warning, my throat suddenly went really tight. I've never had anyone's hands around my throat before, so it was really scary. While I was choking, I tried to wake my wife, and when she came around, I remember looking straight at the puppet sitting on the drawers near our bed and realizing it was him." That's absolutely terrifying.